Growing up, I had a friend named Mary. She was my age, she had dark hair, and she wore glasses, and she always wore a black striped dress. She went with me everywhere I went, like literally everywhere. But probably because she really didn't have a choice, because did I mention that Mary was imaginary? Apparently, 65% of the population has an imaginary friend in their early childhood. Isn't that crazy? It's fascinating to me how imaginative children's minds are, that it's so common for them to befriend a figment of their imagination. Statistically speaking, over half of the people in the room around you right now also had or have an invisible, pretend, or imaginary friend like I did. I want to invite you for a second to use your imagination and picture 3-year-old me in a room full of people. There's friends and family around, and Mary is with me, of course, but no one can see her. People are talking and visiting, and across the room from us, a sweet, elderly woman makes her way over to a chair. She innocently takes a seat, and what she doesn't know is that my imaginary friend Mary had also walked over and also chosen that seat. 3-year-old me looked over in absolute horror to see Mary had been squished beneath this woman. And at seeing this, I screamed a heartbroken, blood-curdling, "No!" And everyone gasped, and the room fell silent as I exclaimed, "You sat on Mary!" Now, don't worry. The woman quickly got up and she gave her seat to Mary, and Mary ended up being okay, and I ended up being okay too. I eventually stopped crying. But looking back, I wonder why I couldn't have just imagined that Mary had jumped out of her chair before the woman sat down, or been anywhere else for that matter. I mean, it was my imagination. I could have changed the outcome. I don't know, but I do know that it sure is funny to think back on. And I also think it's crazy how real Mary was to me. I mean, to have that big of a reaction. I remember her vividly. I think it's wild that myself and 65% of the population are capable of creating a companion who's not real, but feels so real. And I think it's because God didn't create us to be alone. In the very beginning of the Bible, we can see that God said, it's not good for man to be alone. It's because of this that God made a second person to accompany the first person on earth. God didn't create the first people to be alone. God didn't create us to do life on our own either. And that's evident in what we've been talking about in this series too. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about how Jesus sent us together to go and share the good news and to make disciples wherever we go. So today, we're going to focus on the together part of our Sent Together series. We've been talking about the mission that Jesus gave us in Matthew 28 to share the good news and make disciples wherever we go. It's the last instruction that Jesus gave his followers before he left earth to return to heaven. But it's not the only time that Jesus sent his followers out on a mission. Earlier in Jesus' ministry, before Matthew 28, Jesus had been traveling throughout the country of Nazareth, near a place called Galilee. On this journey, Jesus had already assembled his closest followers, who were known as his 12 disciples, and he had sent them out to tell people about him. But in addition to his 12 disciples, Jesus now chose 72 other disciples, and he sent them out ahead in pairs to all the towns and places that he planned to visit. So after initially sending out his 12, he sent 72 more disciples out. 72 people is a lot of people. See, Jesus knew that there wasn't a lot of time before his death would come, and he knew that there were still many villages that had not yet heard his message. Jesus invited this larger group of his disciples to be his messengers, to go to these places first. He was about to teach and meet people, but these 72 people, they went first and they helped prepare the people to meet Jesus. They had a really important job to do, just like you and me. We can also go before Jesus. When you invite someone to students or to church, or when you tell someone about Jesus, you are going and meeting that person first. And then because of that connection, they hopefully will get to know Jesus too afterwards. It's the same concept. And it's a big honor, and we can do it. So knowing that the part of the Bible that we just read talks about something that you and I are called to do too, let's look at it again and see just how we can do it. So now Jesus, when he chose the 72, he sent them in pairs. Notice that they went in pairs to all the towns and places. Jesus sent these guys out to accomplish this incredible task together. He specifically tasked them to do it in pairs. He didn't send them out on their own, and he sent them in groups of 2. This tells us that we are not called to do it on our own either. He created us to accomplish his mission with others. We are literally sent together. God made us to have companionship and community and friendship around us to help us accomplish the mission that Jesus has set before us. This allows us to have comfort and support from each other when it gets hard. It allows us to have healthy, God-honoring friendships that help us grow as people, and it also helps grow God's kingdom. Doing this with others really is a great thing. Speaking of growing God's kingdom, the verse we read doesn't stop there. It continues and it talks about this growth. So after telling them to go out in pairs, Jesus gave these people a more specific instruction. These were his instructions to them. The harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest. Ask him to send more workers into his fields. Let me explain, but you're going to have to use your imagination again, okay? Ready? Okay. Imagine a massive field full of your favorite fruits or vegetables growing. Can you see it? Okay, so now imagine that beside this absolutely massive field stands the farmer who planted it all. Picture him seeing that all of the fruits and vegetables are ripe and ready to be picked. There is a ton of them, and the harvest is great, as this verse says. But now, imagine the sadness that the farmer must feel, realizing also that there simply aren't enough workers available to possibly pick all of these crops. They will eventually fall and die and not live up to their full potential. In this illustration, the fruits and vegetables that are just waiting to be picked, they represent the people waiting to know Jesus. God deeply desires that anyone who doesn't know him will come to know him. And that's where you and I come into play. We are the workers. In the illustration, it was the worker's job to pick the fruit so that it would not fall and die, but so that it could live up to its full potential. If the fruit represents the people waiting to know Jesus, then we must pick the fruit, aka tell people about Jesus, because knowing Jesus allows us to experience the fullest life possible, and we should want to share that. But Jesus told this group, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. In other words, Jesus has a mission so big and so many people to reach that we're going to need to get some more help. You and I, we're the help. He's calling on us. But in order to be this help, the best way that we can be, we must circle all the way back one more time to the truth that we were not created to do it alone. But who exactly are we paired with, though? It's the people around us. The people around you and me, the people in the room around you right now are who is supposed to communicate Jesus' message with you. Sharing his message can look like having a conversation about Jesus with someone or inviting them to church. And you can do that. I know that you can do it because I can do it too. I am an introvert. I do not like talking to strangers, but just this week, I invited someone to church. I invited my cashier at the grocery store to our church, and I was so nervous doing it. But again, if I can do it, you can too. But here's where the doing it together part comes in. I just told you about the invitation I made. You can partner with someone and tell them about the ways that you have shared Jesus' message. Having this partnership means that we can check in on each other on the mission that we're on, and we can make sure that we're following it the way that Jesus called us to, and we can also celebrate each other as we go on it. In small groups tonight, you're going to choose a partner to go on this mission with you this week. And we're going to talk about that more later in small group. But first, let me say that in this partnership, it's you and I, but it's not just you and I, because Jesus also sends us with his gift to us, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is on this mission with us. Jesus once said, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes into your life. Then you will tell people about me from one end of the earth to the other." When we tell people about Jesus, his power is with us. Pairing up with the people around us is powerful, but we can't do any of it without God. I mean, it is for God after all, so we ought to invite him on the mission with us. When we believe in God and invite him into our life, we receive the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is God with us today. And it's only with the Holy Spirit's help, that we can do any of this. When I was standing at the cash register, I was literally shaking from the nerves of inviting her to church. But I felt the Holy Spirit nudging me to ask her. It is a real thing. It's real, and you have access to this too. If you pray and ask God to send the Holy Spirit into your life, he will. We are sent out together on this mission. It's for God, and with the people around us. The truth is, God did not create us to go on his mission alone. And the good news is that we certainly are not alone. So let's go to small groups now and dive into just how we can partner with each other and how we can invite God into our life to help us with all of this.